to another episode of our at-home series of the Sophia D Radio Show. You're probably like, okay, who are you interviewing now? I am interviewing someone who is very special to me. I have known this young lady for a very, very long time. I could say young because I'm a little bit older than her. Not by a lot of years, just a few. And that is the owner of the Soar firm, Miss Lakia Downs. She is a licensed clinical social worker and therapist, and she is going to give us some knowledge about, how to survive crisis like the coronavirus. I also call her Cobra because she's been tearing up stuff. How to handle crisis within our family and ourselves, and we're going to talk about mental health, and we're not going to make it sound like it's a bad thing. Mental health is a healthy topic to talk about.
Yes, looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, you're welcome, beautiful. So, Miss Lakia, how have you been surviving the quarantine crisis? Are you still working?
Thankfully, I have been able to transition and see many of my clients virtually. And so I think that is one of the great things about therapy and how it's just progressing. I'm able to see my clients through video chat. So that's been working out pretty well. I do miss seeing them face to face, but my hope is to be able to start, kind of transitioning people back into the office soon. I just kind of want to, see how things go and also give clients that option. There are some clients who would still rather do virtual sessions, which is fine. And, I may give the clients who want to do face-to-face sessions that option to do that as well. But business has been booming, honestly. Business has been steady, and I've, received, more referrals. So I'm very blessed that, I've been able to still serve during this time.
That's awesome, Lakia, and thank you so much for sharing that. So, since everything's kind of on lockdown, have you learned anything about yourself during this time? I'm not going to say you have free time because you're still working, but, what is one thing that maybe you've learned about yourself that maybe you didn't know so much?
That's a good question. I think, and it's funny because, I'm asking my clients that same question, but I don't know if I've really just thought about it myself. But I would probably say one of the things I think I've learned about myself is that I do need that downtime. And I would say prior to the coronavirus, like I was always on the go. I always had something going on. If I was working during the week, maybe doing things in the evening time, having plans on the weekends. And so when the coronavirus hit, it really caused me to just like settle down a little bit. And I'm grateful for that. And so I really feel like this has really taught me how to manage my time a little bit better. Yes. And how to be more intentional about taking care of myself a little bit better. Not that I was just, totally neglecting myself, but I think we sometimes get caught up in trying to say yes to everything.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you don't realize by the time you're like, okay, I got all these appointments scheduled, or I have all of this on my calendar. Where is my me time? So I've really just been taking advantage of just, doing nothing. Sometimes people think to rest means, you're lazy. And it's like, no, rest is actually an action. Like you're resting your body, giving your body time to recharge and to rejuvenate, which is so important because we can't drive a car without gas. So our body needs that time to just recharge and to rejuvenate and rest so that we can be better,
Right.
Time to get on the move.
Yeah, I like how you said that. I know. So I have a 9 to 5, of course, and then we have the radio show, and my manager, she had asked all the assistants. She was like, do y'all have a problem working from home? And I said, oh my gosh, this is probably like the best thing for me to do right now because, we live in Greenville County, but I work in Spartanburg County, so I get to save gas, mileage, time. I'm not rushing. I'm trying to get to work. My faith ain't being tested on the road. And so I was like, there's a lot of benefits for us to working at home. And it took some adjustments, but I was just like, I really like it because if it's going to keep me safe, because, I have respiratory health issues, then I will do whatever you ask me to do. So I will be sad when they tell us we have to go back to the office.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoyed my time at home. Because when you're a business owner, and Miss Lakia, you're always on the go, and you do say yes to a lot of things that you probably didn't mean to say yes to. So to have this downtime has been excellent. I thank God every day for it. I really do,
Yes.
because I've enjoyed it. But speaking, some of the things you have learned, I also want to know, how did your passion start for therapy and getting into the mental health side of things? You always hear people say, "Oh, you work with the crazy people." Well, no, they ain't crazy, because you might be crazy too.
Right.
So how did that passion start?
Honestly, I would say I never envisioned as a child wanting to go into this field. I feel like it was one of those things God led me into.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was an undergrad, I majored in sociology. And so my senior year, I knew, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do much with just this bachelor's degree in sociology. And so I had a professor who was a social worker. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go into social work because it's very similar to sociology in a lot of ways. And I love learning about people and why people are the way that they are and why society is the way that it is. And so I went into social work, and I would probably say, even while I was in grad school getting my master's in social work, I still never really saw myself doing this kind of work.
Right.
But I've always had a love for people. I've always had a love for helping people. And so I would probably say maybe a few years into my career as a social worker, the idea just kind of kept coming up, about, going into private practice and helping people. I've had some experience in like child welfare, which was great, experience. I've done some program management. That's been great. But I've always had a love for just going back and helping people. And when you think about it, the mind, is one of those parts of our being or our body that controls a lot of different other areas.
Right.
And so if our mind, mentally, if we're not healthy, it's going to affect our physical health. It can affect our spiritual health. And so learning how in working in social work, what I realized was that why a lot of my clients weren't making changes is because there was a mental block. There was trauma. There was, self-defeating thoughts. Like there were a lot of things that people were battling with mentally that were causing them to abuse their kids, or causing them to have, issues in relationships, or causing them to make, poor choices. So, I decided, I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. So I went through the process of getting my clinical supervision hours, passed my clinical test. And so about 2 years ago, I took the leap of faith and I went out into the private practice full time. And I have been running ever since. And so I'm a really big proponent of mental health because I feel like, if our minds aren't well, we're not well.
Right.
It's easy to focus on the physical body, a lot of, and that's okay. It's okay to focus on, our physical health, but it also starts in the mind. If you want to lose weight, it's not so much about doing the exercises. It starts in the mind.
It does, yes. Because you got to have those goals, right?
Right. And you got to have that commitment and just that mental motivation to persevere and endure, as you're going through that process. And sometimes that can be hard.
Yeah, that's good. So I want to go back to what you said earlier. You said that your referrals have picked up a little bit since the coronavirus has kind of kicked in. Do you think, because you always hear about, especially with the media, and I know all about the media because I went to school for it, and I know they have to get these stories out quickly, but are you really talking to the people that work in these fields? So do you think
Mhm.
across the board therapists are seeing an increase in mental health due to the coronavirus?
I would say so. Part of it is, depending on a person's situation, this could be causing financial strain, which then causes
Right.
stress. It could be increasing, a person's anxiety, it could be causing depression. And I think about for people who deal with depression who need that physical support, who need to be around people in order to feel supported,
Right.
that could, heighten their depression. Um, and I would also say some people are now kind of forced to sit with themselves.
Right.
For so
Right. Yeah.
long, I've been on the go and, I've had all these distractions and now I'm at home having to actually sit with myself and sit with my thoughts, which is now, encouraging me to seek help, to kind of navigate and kind of figure out how to deal with those challenges. So I would say yes.
Right. What advice do you have for people who are dealing with some mental health issues during the COVID-19? Like a prime example, I love the outdoors, so we actually put the whole studio up in front of our house. So if you're hearing a lot of cars, that's, in Greer's, trucks are bigger and louder, it's better for them, but that's what you're hearing. But I do like the peace outside versus being
Mhm.
in the four walls 24/7. So what advice do you have for people who are dealing with mental health, or just could be in denial that they might have some mental health issues going on?
Well, first of all, I think usually when we talk about the term or the phrase mental health, it usually has a negative connotation to it. But
Right.
essentially, it's just the health of the mind, just like we say physical health,
Yeah.
the health of the body.
Yep.
And so all of us have things that we deal with, even the person speaking right now. And
Yes.
so
Mhm.
it's not so much about what we deal with, or not so much about what we deal with, but how we deal with them and how we deal with our struggles. And so sometimes it's important to have an outside support, or group of people that we can turn to help us figure out how to navigate through those challenges. I tell clients, if we had all the answers, we probably wouldn't have a lot of the problems that we have. If we knew how to figure out everything, if we knew the answers to everything,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have a lot of the challenges that we have. And so helping people to see that, mental to seek counseling or to seek therapy isn't for people with just the serious, mental health diagnoses. It's for people that just need, a second opinion. You know what? I have this issue. I'm trying to figure out which direction to go, and may just need to hear things from a different perspective. And so I would say for people who maybe are struggling right now mentally with, okay, trying to decide, what the future is going to hold, or unsure about what the future is going to hold as it relates to their jobs or
Right.
relationships or with COVID. I think it's important, number one, for us to honor our feelings and not ignore them, because usually when we ignore them, we suppress them. And at
Right.
some point, our feelings and our emotions are going to come out one way or the other.
Right.
So honoring our feelings, whether that's talking with someone, seeing a therapist, journaling, coaching yourself through, a difficult moment. Um, and I also think it's important for us to focus on what we can control.
That's right.
As humans, we love control. We like to be in control of things. And when things are out of control, that can increase anxiety, that can increase stress. So thinking about, okay, I may not be able to control what happens in the future, but what are the things I can control now? I can
Right.
control how I respond. I can control whether, how I adapt to, the circumstances as things shift. So I think those are some ways that people who are maybe dealing with the COVID-19 or just dealing with some difficulties in general
Right.
can
Right.
kind of process and kind of navigate through those issues.
So I know with the coronavirus, we hear this thing, or I guess the different demographics that it's hitting. So they're like, it's really hurting the African American population. And pretty much, if you're black or brown, you're at a higher risk than your majority demographics are. Are you seeing a spike in mental health when it comes down to the different demographics?
I would say for me and my practice, I do primarily serve majority population that are people of color. So a lot of the clients who are on my caseload and that I serve are people of color. And part of that I think is just because people want to they want somebody that looks like them.
Right. And they feel more comfortable talking to someone that looks like them.
Right. Right. And so I think now that like the whole idea and the whole concept of mental health is becoming more widely accepted now,
Mhm.
more people are open, to the idea of, well, okay, let me try this out. You know how it is in our community. It's like, all right, I need to know if this is going to work. So who has tried this out first? Like, I'm not trying it out till such and such. So, and I do get that sometimes when clients come, they're like, yeah, I had a friend who, was seeing you, or I had a relative, and they told me, that you helped them work through some things. I wanted to give it a try. So I would say that for me, it's always been like that,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure what it may be across the board. But my hope is that more people, whether or not, they're people of color, but just in general, my hope is that people are reaching out for help.
Right. I am a big believer in mental health. We have a couple of people in my family that have had some mental health challenges, and I am the one to tell you that I have been to a counselor. I can be honest with you and tell you I've seen three different counselors in my whole entire life on this earth, and I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit that. Because I just need somebody to talk to that doesn't know anything about me.
Mhm.
Please give me something practical to help me deal with my situation. And
Mhm.
then once I feel comfortable that I can do this on my own, then I will say, I'll call you back if I need you, but I think I got it right now.
Mhm.
So I think it's just important, don't feel it's not a bad thing. And if somebody says it's a bad thing, how much control are you giving them of your life?
Right.
um, you need to be open and just ask for help because
Mhm.
it's so important. Because if once the mind's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. And
And
we
and
need our
there's
mind to do a lot of different things.
right, and I kind of hold that mental health. I don't want to be too biblical or religious or anything, but I am a big believer in my faith that God promises us a temple, and that temple is to be taken care of. But part of that temple is that mind, because once
Right.
once that mind is gone, ain't no going
Yeah.
back.
And even in the scriptures, it talks about, being transformed by the renewing of our mind,
Yeah,
taking on, new thoughts, healthier thoughts. When I think about that from a biblical standpoint, that's what comes up for me is, getting rid of those old ways of thinking. Because a lot of times, like many of us, all of us, should say, um, we have a lot of learned behaviors,
yes,
that stem from childhood, that just stem from different situations. And so, sometimes you get to that point in your life, you know what, this isn't working for me anymore. And
right.
that's okay. And it's okay to, figure out or think about, okay, what's a new way to see, this part of my life, or what's a new way to show up differently as it relates to this part of my life. And that's that whole renewing of the mind, because we're always evolving.
Yeah,
We shouldn't want to stay the same. And so if I'm always evolving, then that means my thought patterns are going to change, my behaviors are going to change. But if I'm so stuck on what I know, then
yes,
I may miss out on, what's to come or what's ahead, because I'm so stuck on what I know.
right.
We know what it's like, being comfortable. And when
Yeah,
people make the statement, oh, this is just how I am, I always say, no, that's how we're choosing to be.
that's right.
That's how you were choosing to be.
That's right.
Because we can always be, better and different.
Right. So, Lakia, you were talking about, mental health is the health of the mind, physical health is the health of your body. So, can you just explain a little bit why is it so important to stay active, physically active, and kind of watch what you eat during these times if you're at home all day not working? Because look, I have my water here. I love water. Maybe as much as I love sweet tea, that's how much I love water. But I always want to, although I'm working from home, I do want to make sure that I'm still, doing my 5 o'clock walk and my 5:30 yoga. Make sure I'm staying hydrated. How important is that from a licensed therapist to say just get up and do something?
Very important because, even when we exercise, our body releases those endorphins. And physical health, I mean, physical activity is obviously good for our body and for our organs and kind of, regulates our blood and all of that good stuff. But it also is just as important as what we eat. And I'm glad you brought that up because usually one of the things I may ask clients when they like feel like they have a lot of low energy or they're just kind of feeling a little, sad more often than not,
Yeah.
I will ask them about their eating habits. What are some of the things you eat or don't eat? It's just as important to give our body fuel. So for people who don't eat,
Yeah.
sometimes that can be detrimental because your body's not getting that fuel that it needs. So I try to encourage clients to stay away from a lot of processed foods, especially sugars,
Yeah.
and a lot of like unhealthy carbs like breads.
Yeah.
For me personally, I have even noticed because I love bread, and so I'm trying to, cut back.
Right. I think that's the southern side of us, Lakia.
Trying to cut back. So, but I have noticed during the day, like if I eat a lunch that is very carb heavy or has a lot of sugars in it, I'm crashing. Like
Right.
a couple
Yes.
hours later, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I noticed that when I eat a lunch that is a little lighter, has a lot of greens, limited carbs, I have more energy to sustain throughout the rest of the day.
Right. Right.
And so in the morning times, I have been more intentional about doing smoothies. And so in my smoothies, I put like, fruits and vegetables and sea moss gel. And sea moss gel is really good for energy as well. And I haven't really drank coffee in several weeks because I
I know.
used to,
Look
yeah,
here. I just told my husband this last week. I said, "Man, since we've been working at home, I haven't had to have any coffee.
right,
Like, what's up with that?
right,
Because
yeah,
I will do a whole cup in a minute. And honey, let me tell you something. I will have my cup of coffee in the morning. I literally just bought a new bag yesterday, and the bag that I just finished, I bought it back in February.
wow. And part of it, I wonder if it's just like a learned behavior because when you go into the office, like it's part of the routine, like fix your
Right.
cup of coffee, and
Uh,
and now that we're at home, it's like, well, I don't really think I need that coffee.
but yeah, I'm telling you, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I just had to agree with you on that one for sure.
Hmm.
So, how significant is it for people to set goals during this time?
Well, what I have been encouraging people is to be honest with yourself. For
Hmm.
some people, I've been hearing both sides. Some people are like, okay, well, take this time to really do the things that you said you never got to, you never have time to do. And then for some people, your goal may just be to rest, just to sit down.
Yeah.
That may just be your goal for this quarantine. Sit down.
Yes.
Um, and so I tell people, like, you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to, what is best for you because what may work for one person may not work for another. But I think it's important for us to set realistic goals.
Yes.
Um, Not these, high expectations that we can't achieve, or aren't achievable. And so if there is, let's say you do have a big goal that you want to achieve, breaking that goal down. so that it's more realistic and that you feel more motivated as you go through the process.
Right.
But then, like I said, on the flip side of that, you know, your goal may just be to rest, may just be to give yourself some space.
Yeah.
So just listening to your body.
Yeah, I like that, Lakia. So, what is one thing that you cannot wait to do once everything gets back to normal?
Fly. I love traveling, so I am so ready to get back on a plane, go places.
Yes, yes. That's what my husband was talking about. We're like, oh, we have got to go down to Charleston like ASAP.
Oh my gosh. I'm just like, I mean, I don't mind traveling places in the car, but I like to go, you know, places beyond South Carolina. I'm like, I want to fly, but I'm going to just kind of play it by ear. I'm not going to go out there too soon.
Right.
But yeah, I want to go out of the country again this year. So we'll see.
Yeah. So, Lakia, before we let you go, what if someone needs mental health counselors or some type of therapy? What websites would you advise them to go to?
Well, one great website is called Psychology Today. And you can go on that website and you can find therapists in your area. It even filters it down to the type of insurance that you have, what kind of issues you're dealing with. There's also another one called Therapy for Black Girls, which is an online directory for women who are looking for a therapist. And I want to say there's one Therapy for Black Men as well.
Okay.
Open Path is also another great website, and this is for people who don't have insurance but want affordable like therapy. So there's a list or catalog of therapists there on that website that do sliding fee scales, which means that they just do reduced session fees for people who don't have insurance. But Google is your best friend. So I always tell people, when in doubt, Google therapist in my area or ask somebody. Because a lot of times, people know you, like close friends, they know you better. So they may be able to recommend somebody or suggest somebody to you.
Right. I like that, Miss Lakia. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sophia D radio show. I can't wait. One day I can call you Dr. Lakia.
It's coming.
But we want to personally say thank you for your time today. Thank you for your knowledge and your gifting. And I wish you the best of luck with everything else you've got going on. And hey, enjoy your time working from home, sweetheart.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you for having me as well.
Oh, yes, ma'am. And you promised to be back when we can kind of do face-to-face interviews, right?
Yes.
Yes. Give it up for Miss Lakia Downs, licensed clinical social worker and therapist of the Soar firm. Love you, sweetheart.
Love you too.
People like me who love to please, don't push me away. Please don't, 'cause people like me love kind to please, don't push me away. I need love too.
Yes, another one mission joint. JL, talk to him, man.
Who said that superheroes don't exist? Who said there's no such thing as God? Show me who told you this. Who do you think's responsible for my accomplishments? Do you not see me standing here? I'm living proof of it. And negativity, I don't need you. You can't stay in my 4 seasons. Don't bring up my past, got amnesia. So don't even ask, bye Felicia. That just hit the gas, skirt, see ya. I'm in a whole new arena. I'm talking on another level. I ain't afraid of heights either. Exodus, Lord, rescue me. Exodus, Lord, set us free. Exodus, Lord, more of you. Exodus, Lord, less of me. Hands up if you wanna be free. Hands down. Hands up if you still believe. Hands down. I'm so glad I don't look like what I've been through. I never would have made it You made me brand new. Saw me stranded, reached out your hand, and you pulled me through.
No one's ever loved me the way you do.
Love me the way you do.
You didn't have to do it. You're the only one I know. Yeah. Who can rescue me?
Exodus.
Who can set me free?
Exodus.
More of you.
Exodus.
More of you and less of me.
I'll move out of the way. Exodus. I'll do whatever you say. Exodus. I'll go wherever you need me. Exodus. Follow wherever you lead me.
I'm so glad.
I'm so glad I don't look like what I've been through.
Never, ever would have made it.
Never would have made it if it wasn't for you.
And then he took my
broken pieces and made me brand new.
He saw me stranded.
Saw me stranded, reached out your hand and pulled me through. Oh, man, no one's ever loved me the way you do. You didn't have to do it, but you're the only one I know who can.
Rescue me.
Exodus.
Set me free.
Exodus.
More of you.
Exodus.
More of you. Let's
Exodus.
do whatever you say.
Exodus. Go wherever you need me. Exodus. Follow wherever you lead me.
Sometimes you just gotta let the fair play. Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes you just gotta let the fair play. Breathe in, breathe out. No fear, no doubt.
You see this? Yo, you see this? That's us. I know I'm not tripping.
How is that possible?
I know.
It's
Dude,
me.
I'm tripping.
Is that us?
Well, that's you. And that's me.
Look at us.
Open your mouth.
Oh, what is
Is that us? Is that me?
Yo, that's us.
No way.
Y'all see me?
Yeah.
Transformation.
Look at how we end up, man.
Look at what we've been through.
Look at how far we came, man.
This is why we can't give up. This is why we gotta keep going.
This is why we can't give up. This is why we gotta keep going.
Oh, I'm coming out. I'm breaking out. I'm marching. Exodus. I'm coming out. I'm breaking out. Tomorrow. No, Exodus. I'm marching. Exodus.
Lord, Exodus. Oh, Exodus. I'm so glad I don't look like what I've been through. I'm so glad I don't look like what I've been through. Hey.